Welcome back! I can't believe you came back for a second video. You're either gluttons for punishment or you are serious about that tech pack. Either way, glad you're back. This next video is all about factory sourcing. So you may have already watched 100 videos on how to make a tech pack, on how to make a vector art file, but I don't feel like there's enough information out there to arm and equip you with how to source a good factory. So that is my goal in this video. In case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I just want to do a quick introduction. My name is Crystal Lewis and my company is Black Unicorn Merchandising. I specialize in low MOQ, which stands for minimum order quantity, for startup brands and existing apparel brands that maybe just kind of need help expanding their lines of apparel. So today's video, as I mentioned, is all about factory sourcing. So let's look at some of the things I do to help me find a manufacturer that I trust. Quick disclaimer, some people are very good at being very bad. So even though you do all 10 of these steps, you still have to make sure that you've done your homework on this factory, that you are confident that they're going to be a good fit for you, because there are unethical people out there that are very good at posing as factories that you may or may not have luck with. So either way, let's look at some of the things I do to be successful, and hopefully they will bring success to you as well. Step number 1, get a recommendation from someone you trust. This may be difficult if you don't actually have any industry experience, but I guarantee you if you start asking around and looking for different certifications, maybe on through their website, you'll find a manufacturer that you trust. But I always recommend starting out with the factory that was referred to you from a friend or colleague. And for me, that looks like sending a text message or a LinkedIn message, hey, have you ever done swimwear in Brazil or what have you? And the answer is yes. Then I always ask for an introduction in an email. Now this, again, is not something just anybody can do, but if you have that, that is always where I recommend starting out, is with a referral. Next, make sure this factory actually makes product like you're trying to make. So if you are doing cardigans or if you're doing tank tops, you're not going to want to do this product at like a men's slacks factory or like a socks factory. You can't just assume that because they have factory in the title that they can make all the things. So if you are, I love to use a good cake example. If you are having somebody make you cupcakes, maybe you don't go to the person in the neighborhood who's known for making cookies. Who knows what those cupcakes are going to come out like, right? Either way, your factory is going to be like that. Make sure that they actually make apparel like what you're trying to do. Have them send you some pictures of some previous production and make sure that it is aligned with what it is you're trying to make. Number 3, confirm that they actually have the right fabric and trims for you. Like maybe they sent you some pictures of what they've done previously, but they may not have the exact fabric that you're looking for. So this may mean that you have to send them a swatch at your cost. Remember, most factories, especially new factories, are not going to absorb that cost for you. But you might have to send them a swatch and say, hey, this is what I'm after. Do you have anything like this? And then you may have to pay for them to ship you a package back. So keep that in mind. Make sure that they have the fabric and trims that you're actually wanting to make your sample out of. And hopefully it will be exactly what you make your order out of. But before you get too far down the line, make sure that they can actually make your sample the way that you're envisioning it. Okay, so factories are always very good at responding to that first email. I find that I get that introduction and everything is going great. Maybe that second email comes a little slower and the third email comes a little slower, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? Make sure that they are actually responsive to your emails. If they're not, that's a giant red flag, because that is a spotlight on how the rest of your experience is going to go. So always make sure that they're responding to your emails and your messages. And if they're not, maybe that's not the right partner for you. And in turn, make sure that you're also responding to their emails and messages as well, to make sure that everybody is aligned and things are moving smoothly and quickly. Number 5, confirm that they have a working phone number and physical mailing address. Okay, now I'll explain why that's important a little down the line, but at some point you're going to want to send someone on site, and you need to, before you can even get to that stage, have a phone number that you can call. Even if it's, long distance charges apply, just make sure that there is a phone number that actually calls a human person, and make sure that there's a physical mailing address to a business, not to somebody's home, an actual business. And again, I'll explain why those two things are important as we get down the line in this video, but make sure that they have a working phone number and mailing address. All right, so you've done, steps 1 through 5. Now you're ready for a virtual tour. And literally all that is having the factory take you around with their phone and showing you their facility. Now, if they're not willing to do that, that's a red flag for several reasons. Number 1, it might not actually be a real factory. It could be some charlatan just trying to take your money and assuming that you're some dumb American that's just gonna, shell out a bunch of money to a stranger. Okay, that's the first step that we want to make sure, or the first red flag that we want to look out for. The other reason, if a factory may not be willing to give you a virtual tour, is maybe they're too busy. Also, not a good sign. Like, if they don't have 5 to 10 minutes to walk around with their phone and just show you, yes, I'm a legitimate factory, that is not a sign of a partner that you want to get into business with, because they're not going to make time for you or your project. You are literally just like a number in a line of other projects. And so they're not showing you that you matter to them and that they're serious about growing a relationship with you. Also, it may be an agent. Now, I have nothing against agents. I actually work with several agents, and these are people that will do sourcing on your behalf, but they're a middleman, essentially. They don't own the factory. They don't work on site at the factory. And that's another mouth you're going to have to feed. That's another person that's going to be taking a cut of your sample request, of your order. So remember, when you're trying to think about your bottom line and how much everything's going to cost, working with an agent is going to be an extra cost. Maybe worth it to you, maybe not. That's just something to consider. Lastly, a red flag to keep in mind is if they're not willing to do a virtual tour, is because it may just be a person who is literally doing Google searches on factories, and they don't actually have a relationship with this factory. If they can't get on site at this factory, that's a red flag, because who is going to be the eyes and ears for your order if it's in a distant land that you can't get to? So this agent, if you decide to work with one, actually needs to have an established relationship with this factory. So that virtual tour is a must. And if they don't honor that, that's not the partner for you. Alrighty, next up, you've done steps 1 through 6. Now it's time to make a sample. Send over that tech pack, send over your sourcing email, which I, again, will be making you a checklist for, or not a checklist per se, but a template for your factory sourcing email, so that, again, you can just look super professional in the eyes of that factory, but have them make up something unique. If you are not an actual apparel designer, maybe you're just doing some cool graphics on some ready-made hoodies, have them take a stock pattern of a hoodie or a jogger or whatever and put your graphic on it. See how they do. See if they nail the technique. See if they get the colors right, the size, the placement, all that right. If you are a designer and you're trying to have something unique designed, you definitely need to have them cut and sew up a unique sample to show them that, yes, or to show you that they have the chops to actually produce your apparel. All right, number 8 is, I would say, probably the most important step. And if you can't figure this out on your own, you definitely need to loop Black Unicorn in, or someone else to help you with this part of the process. But that is to send a QC on site. QC stands for Quality Control Agent. And this person is usually in close proximity to the factory, and they have a ton of experience in apparel manufacturing. They're going to be your eyes and ears on site. They're going to be your boots on the ground to actually go into this factory, look at the machinery, look at the working conditions that these people are in. Make sure it's not a sweatshop. Make sure that it's nice and clean and the air is clean and the people are happy and that they're being paid a fair wage. So you need to find a QC person either on LinkedIn or through a colleague that will actually go on site and give you images and a full report of what this factory is like. Again, if the factory is not willing to let a QC on site, that is a big red flag, because at some point, if you place an order with these people, you're going to want your QC person to go in and check your manufacturing. So if they're not even willing to let him just come on and audit their factory, that's a giant red flag. All right, number 9, never pay in full upfront for anything. Now you will have to foot the cost of packages. So if you're sending or receiving packages from the factory, you're going to have to pay for that cost always. You might get lucky and have a factory that maybe has an office here that they're willing to, foot the bill because they're going to ship it to their Miami office or their LA office. And then that office really only has to spend $10 to get it from their city to yours. But outside of that, if you're getting a sample made or if you're getting production made, don't pay in full upfront. And anyone that insists you do is definitely not a partner that you want to do business with. A deposit is really insurance for both parties. You're only paying 40 to 50% of what it takes to get that product made. They use that to buy materials, but you're not paying in full, so you have some insurance, some leverage to make sure that they actually sew it right, that they actually produce it correctly and timely. And if they want the rest of that money, they have to show you proof that it's getting done right and it's getting done quickly. So just never pay for anything in full upfront. Always insist on a deposit and cut bait if you have a factory that's not willing to do at least that for you. Lastly, insist on seeing a production quality sample before they finish your order. When you place an order, hopefully you've already gotten a first sample made, but it's important to remember that samples are made from available materials, available fabric, and in a sample room, which is a more controlled environment. Your production is going to be made typically off-site in a production plant. And it's not going to be an intimate little sample room with 2 or 3 seamstresses in it that are really taking the time and putting love into that one garment. It's just a bunch of people that are flying through your order, and they're not going to be taking the same level of, again, care and love into each piece. They're trying to move quickly. So you need to make sure that they're experienced and that they have a high level of understanding of the manufacturing process. So always insist on seeing one production quality or production sample before they finish your order and before they, sew it, pack it up, and pack it into boxes, because there will be extra charges that apply if they have to unpack it and fix everything. Or worse, maybe they won't fix everything, and now you're having to decide what to do with all this product that you don't approve of. Anyway, that's the last thing that I insist on doing, is see that production quality sample before they finish your order. Okay, so that was probably a lot to throw at you, but not to worry, you don't have to absorb all of this. You don't have to watch this video 100 times and take 16 pages of notes. Just click the link below and download the free checklist on factory sourcing. And also, if you are serious about deepening your knowledge about the apparel design and development process, you got to sign up for my course. I finished recording the Black Unicorn Merchandising Tech Pack mini course. It is also for sale. You can head over to the website, blackunicornmerch.com, and go over to our courses. Or you can click the link below and it'll take you directly to my course and you can enroll today. In that course, I teach you everything a factory is looking for in your tech pack and all of the other files that accompany your tech pack. And I give you a ton of already included templates and guides to help you along your process, along your journey, to make it just that much easier for the do-it-yourself brand owner to get their line off the ground and ready for sale.